Let's start the class with 3 ohms. Sahana bhavato sahanau bhunakto saha viryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whenever we enter into the spiritual study, the Acharya, the Guru, starts with Prakarana Granthas. Prakaranam means manuals, which are written by teachers themselves. Right from the time of Shankaracharya, and even before that, the actual study was done by verbal methods. Then the print form came in and people started writing methodologies to teach what they have heard through Shravanam, through listening. But the original Vedic methodology was purely Shravanam. A guru used to teach the student used to just listen and understand the entire scriptures. But in the later point of time, when Shankaracharya came in, he started writing textbooks which are meant for teaching. So the Prakarana Granthas are of 2 types. One which gives the helicopter view or a bird's eye view of the overall subject matter, covering all the major topics of the study. One of the textbooks which is generally prescribed to start with is the Tattva Bodha, which gives the overall view of the spiritual study. Similarly, we have Vivek Chudamani, which is an enlarged version of Tattva Bodha. And then there are other texts like Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta. These texts mainly cover 6 topics. And what are the topics? The 3 well-known topics are the Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. That means the individual who wants to study, then an analysis of the world in which the individual finds himself, and then an inquiry into the creator of this universe. These are the 3 fundamental topics discussed in almost all the scriptures, whether it is Hindu scriptures, whether it is Christianity, whether it is Islamic, anything, any philosophy which studies God in particularly will cover these topics. Then the Indian scriptures which are Vedanta related, they touch upon 3 other topics. One is called as Bandha, which is called as bondage. That means the Jiva, he finds that there is some he is not free, but he feels that inherently he feels that he is not bound. But at the same time, he feels that I'm bound by something. So there is a little bit of a confusion in his mind. Inherently, he feels that I'm not bound, but subjectively, he feels that I'm bound by my mind, I'm bound by the body, I'm bound by the world. This is called as bondage. It's an internal subjective bondage. Then he wants to realize that how do I come out of my bondage of sorrow, limitations, of inadequacies in me itself. So that is called as moksha. Moksha means desire to be free from sorrows in life, which are primarily caused by birth and death. In between, what happens between birth and death is all, according to the scriptures, is all sorrow. A few fleeting moments of joy, but mainly in the older ages, the older times, it becomes sorrowful. And the third topic, the sixth topic which is discussed is sadhana. Sadhana means disciplines, the means for liberation, the means to come out of this sorrow. These are the textbooks which deal with a helicopter view, which deals with almost all the areas, but not in detail. They just give you descriptions of the jiva, descriptions of jagat, like in Vivek Chodamani or Tattva. Most of you have done this text. You must have realized in 5 lectures, we covered the entire text of Tattva. Then there are some texts which are again used for teaching. They are focused specific topic wise, where texts are Atma Bodha, which is focused on the Atma. Then we have Drik Drishya Viveka, which is focused on the Jiva. Then we have Vakya Vritti, which is focused on the Mahavakyas. So similarly, other texts which are focused on specific areas, it could be the Jiva, it could be the, generally it is Jiva based, most of them, because we all want to know who we are. Then the 3 fundamental texts which almost all the gurus teach, the 3 courses, prasthanam. Prasthanam means courses. The 3 fundamental courses for the spiritual study are generally called as Shruti Prasthanam. Shruti means what has been heard by the rishis. The author is not known. They are called as Upanishads. Upanishads are absolutely the fundamental sources. Then Smriti means texts which have been written by human beings. In the main text, which is generally taught in almost all the institutions which teach the spiritual study, is the Bhagavad Gita. And then we have Nyaya Prasthanam, which is purely based on logic, and it is written by Vedavyasa, Brahma Sutras. Sutras are cryptical statements which are taken up to discuss some of the elements, some of the points in the Upanishads, where there could be confusions. So Brahma Sutras are a text which cover mainly logical areas where there could be different views of points of different philosophers, and then you analyze them so that you are able to convince yourself of the essence of the teaching. In all these texts, the Bhagavad Gita is based on the Upanishad texts. Brahma Sutra is based on the Upanishads. Upanishads are, they say there were 1,180 Upanishads which were there during Shankaracharya's times. And then even today there are about 108 or about 108 Upanishads where there are about 220 Upanishads where we can find the mantras. And then out of the 220, a little bit more, some commentaries are available for about 108 of them. And Shankaracharya has written commentaries on 10 Upanishads. Those Upanishads are generally taught in the Vedic schools, even today. Commentaries are available, Shankara Bhashyam is available. All this is with a view to understand what does the Upanishad say. And these 1,180 Upanishads are nothing but 1,000 schools which were teaching the Vedas in the olden days. And each school had an Upanishad. Upanishad means the end portion of the Vedas. There are two parts to the Vedas, Veda Purva and Veda Anta. Veda Purva deals mainly with the rituals part. Veda Anta deals with the philosophical part, which is what we are studying. That means the end portion. What does the Lord want to tell us ultimately about us? That is what is called as Veda Anta portion. And what Shankaracharya found in all his study of Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras, he has written Bhashyam on Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra and Upanishads, one man. And these are very, very voluminous texts. If one has to study the Bhashyam, it takes years to study the Bhashyam means commentary written by Shankaracharya. In all this, there is one thing which he has kept as the goal. And that is called as the essence of all studies, which I put here, which is declared by Shankaracharya. And what he says is there are three things which you have to convince yourself ultimately at the end of the spiritual study. The 3 points he says are, number one, Brahma Satyam. Brahma Satyam means in this universe there is one truth which does not change at all. It has been existing before the creation. It is existing right now. It will be existing in future. So what exists in the past, what exists now, and what exists in the future, the scriptures have called that Brahman. Brahman is the totality which exists in this universe, but it doesn't change. That is why it is called as Satyam. It never changes. This is one of the rare findings of Shankaracharya. Among all the scriptures, you see what happens in Upanishads is they will just describe that this is Brahman. They will describe this is Brahman means they will say the indicators. Some of you have done Upanishads. You know that there are Upanishads where the description of Atma or Brahman is given, Ashabdam, Asparsham. All these mantras which tells us I am not this, but I am this. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. These are all definitions of that one truth which doesn't change at all. Everything else in the universe is subject to change. What doesn't change is called as the subject. What changes is called as the object, Drishyam. What doesn't change is called as the subject, which is called as Drik. That means the seer, the experiencer of this universe, the seer of this universe, the consciousness principle of this universe doesn't change. That is called as Brahman, and it is called as Satyam. Satyam means it ever is there, it is immortal, it is Nityaha, endless, beginningless. Then, so this is one portion of the finding, ultimate finding, which Shankaracharya found as the essence of all his study. I mean, at a very young age, he had the grasping ability to understand the scriptures, not only understand, to write the scriptures, not only write, but also teach the scriptures. Then the second thing he discovered was that this universe which we see is an appearance. It is an appearance. It is, what is an appearance in Sanskrit? It is called as mithya. Satyam means existence. Mithya means appearance. Appearance means what? It appears like the dream. How the dream appears to us? Similarly, the waking also appears to us. It doesn't mean it is non-existent. It means between existence and non-existence, there is the third category, which is called as an appearance. So he said that the scriptures are saying that the world is an appearance, Brahman is Satyam. Then the third conclusion he said was, Jivo Brahmaiva na paraha. That means, I, the Jiva, who is in this body, am none other than that Brahman. I am the same as Brahman. I am no difference between me and Brahman. That is what he said in the third portion. So these three portions, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This comes in Brahma Jnanavalli, which is written by Adi Shankaracharya. And this is the central message which has been analyzed by many teachers after Shankaracharya. Totakacharya has written a book, Shrutisara Samudranam. Then Sureshwaracharya, another disciple of Shankaracharya, has written a book called Naishkarmya Siddhi. Then there is a very famous text called as Vichara Sagara, which also deals with the same Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So all the advanced texts of Vedanta, they all deal with this one topic, and that topic is that ultimate essence of this whole universe is pure consciousness, pure awareness principle. Everything else apart from awareness consciousness principle is an appearance. And who is that consciousness? What is that consciousness? That consciousness is nothing else but me. I am that pure ultimate truth of this world, which is called as consciousness, which is called as Brahman. You may call it whatever name you may have. But the truth is, it is pure awareness principle. Based on this, like I said, 500 verses, 200 verses, 300 verses, or all written to explain this one sentence. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Na Paraha. That means Brahman is the ultimate truth, world is an appearance, I am that pure consciousness, Brahman. So as we will be taking some of the advanced texts for our study, I thought it may be a good idea to just go through the text in a very brief way and understand where does this mantra come, where does this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, where does it come? So I decided to take this particular small text of 21 verses. What we will do now is to quickly run through this text, but we won't go into each and every word of the text in very detailed fashion. My objective is to take up some of these advanced texts, some of these Prakarana Granthas like Vivek Chodamani, which we will be doing after this text. And then I plan to take a summary of Naishkarmya Siddhi, Shrutisara Samudaranam, and then Vichara Sagara, which is a very, very tough text. Some of these texts we will see, but all these texts are based on this verse. We'll go straight to the text, verse number 1. Sakrit Shravanam Matrena Brahma Jnanam Yato Bhaved. Brahma Jnanavalli Mala Sarvesham Moksha Siddhaye. What it means is, this text, by hearing just once, knowledge of Brahman is attained. Enables all to attain liberation. Look at the confidence of the teacher. You see, he was teaching very, very great students like Sureshwaracharya, Totakacharya, Padmatpadacharya, Sureshwaracharya. So he knew very well, just by teaching these 20 verses, they will understand the ultimate truth. Tremendous confidence in his disciples. So when you read the first verse itself, oh my God, I don't have to read anything else. I don't have to study anything else. If I read and understand these 20 mantras, that's it. My spiritual study is over. You feel so inspired by this first mantra itself. So in the first mantra, he teaches us the benefit of Brahma Jnana. What is the benefit of this study? Usually, whenever people write a text, they will initially tell us who is the adhikari. That means who is a fit student who can receive, who can study the text. What is the vishayaha? That means what is the subject matter? What is the benefit of the study? Vishaya, adhikari, benefit, which means phalam. What is the phalam? What is the benefit of this study? Benefit of the study of the text is liberation from sorrow. And what is the subject matter? The subject matter is Brahma Jnana. That means the knowledge about the ultimate essence of this creation, which doesn't change at all, which is called as Brahman in the Upanishads. You see, the Upanishads have declared that the non-changing factor in this changing universe, any change causes sorrow. And whenever we look outside our body, we see everything is changing. My body is changing. Every day when I get up, I see things in the world have changed. My thoughts are changing very rapidly. So there is something which hasn't changed. For example, in ourselves, 1 week ago I was the same. The person who was inside this body is the same. 5 years ago, there is something in the body which has not changed. It's the same individual who is continuing in this body. Similarly, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next year, after 5 years, again, it will be the same individuals who will be inside this body, something has not changed in this me. When I say I am, there is something which has not changed. And in this is the ultimate truth which we need to discover. Brahma Jnanavalli is a garland. Mala means garland. Jnanavalli means knowledge, a garland of knowledge about Brahman. And the subject matter in this entire 21 verses is the same subject matter which is in the Upanishads, which is called as the Mahavakyam message. Whenever we talk about Mahavakyam, these are all specific verses in the Upanishads which talk about the oneness between the Jiva, that means I, the Jiva. There is something in me which is common between me and the ultimate creator of this universe. So, in order to understand the Mahavakyam, I have just put a small chart here, so that when you understand this chart, then only you can go and try to fit in the verses, what is what. So the first thing we must note is we are talking about two factors. One factor is not changing. One factor is the sentient factor. That means it can think, it can walk, it can there is a power which is called as a sentiency power, which doesn't change. And this other factor is what is changing factor. The seen and the seer. The seen is always changing, the seer remains constant. Throughout the life, I am the same seer. The consciousness in me has not changed at all. That is what is called as the changeless factor between in me, the Jiva, and in the totality. In the scriptures, they say that even the whole world is considered as a Purusha. Purusha means supreme being. We are all small individuals, but there is a Purusha which is a totality. That is why in Purusha Suktam, the entire universe is taken as a supreme being with hands, with legs, with eyes. The supreme being's eyes are nothing but the moon and the sun. Those of you who have learned the Purusha Suktam, you know that is how it describes the entire universe. That is why we say in Mandukya Upanishad, we say Virat Purushaha. It is a being. Ultimately, the universe is a supreme being. In Bhagavad Gita, we say, look at the whole universe as my form. Lord Krishna says that. Whole universe. He says, I will show you my vibhutis in the entire universe in chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita. Then in the 11th verse, he says, now you look at the whole universe in me. So the universe in the scriptures is seen as a supreme being, the totality. It also has a birth, it also has a death. Universe. But consciousness doesn't have birth or death. Pralayam means the death of the universe. It goes into unmanifest condition. the universe goes into unmanifest condition in pralayam. Srishti, creation, means it comes into manifestation. Srishti, sthiti, pralayam. That means creation, sustenance, dissolution. These three are happening in the universe. These three are happening in this body of mine also. Manifestation and manifestation is common to both the individual and the totality. At the individual level, it is the birth of a jiva. At the total level, it is the birth of the whole creation. Shrishti. That means the creation comes and goes, comes and goes. It's a continuous process. At the individual level, it is the death of the individual. At the total level, it is the pralayam. It goes, the whole srishti goes into unmanifest condition. So, in order to understand the oneness between the individual jiva and the totality, which we will call it as Param Atma, that means the totality, we normally in this, to understand the oneness, we divide the Jivatma and the Paramatma into three parts. One part is called as the consciousness part, which is called as the Atma part. The second part is the reflected consciousness, which is called as the mind. Like, for example, suppose you see yourself in the mirror, you see a reflection. So similarly, Atma has a reflection in the mind, in all the minds, all human minds, animal minds also. Wherever there is a mind, there is a reflection. So the individual consists of the Atma, which is the pure consciousness. It consists of the second part, which is called as the reflected consciousness. Reflecting material is there in the reflected consciousness. Because of reflecting material is what? The three bodies. The three bodies, as you have seen in Tattva Bodha, is the gross body, the subtle body, which is the mind and the 17 organs, which we all know. From Tattva Bodha, we know the 5 organs of knowledge, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, mind and intellect. These 17 parts of the subtle body, they are together called as the subtle body. They are subtle in nature because they are created before the gross elements were formed. They are created by subtle elements. We have seen this in Tattva Bodha. So the gross body made up of gross elements, the subtle body made up of subtle elements. Causal body is nothing but the body in which we sleep. The body in which we dream is the subtle body. The body in which we see the entire universe in a gross form is the gross body. So our experience in life is through these three bodies. And whenever this consciousness is reflected in these three bodies, the universe is seen. It will be a gross universe or a subtle universe of only impressions during in the mind which are projected, or it could be the causal body in which what gets reflected is called as ignorance. Ignorance means avidya. Vidya means knowledge. Avidya means ignorance. During Jagrat Avastha, during the waking state, we see the entire universe. During the sleep state, we don't see the universe. We are ignorant about this waking state. That is why it is called as ignorance. It is also called as ignorance because it does not know the Atma. Ignorance, the causal body, is also called as Maya, or it is, these are all just names. Don't get confused. It only means that it is an unmanifest condition of this universe. And I don't know myself in sleep, and I also don't know the universe in sleep. I don't know who I am. I don't know that I am Atma in sleep. That is why it is called as avidya. The Maya, that means there is a power which covers the Atma. That covering power is called as Maya, or the causal body. The three bodies are inert by nature. They are insentient. They don't have the power to think, the power to breathe by themselves. They don't have any power, nothing. What gives them the power is Atma. Sentiency is provided by Atma. Similarly, Paramatma also has an original consciousness which is sentient. The reflected consciousness, which generally in the Jiva it is the mind. In the case of Paramatma, it is the entire laws of the universe. The centripetal force, the centrifugal force, the gravitational force, the cosmic forces which control the entire movement of planets. You know, there are so many powers in this universe. Those powers are nothing but the mind of the universe. The total mind is called as Hiranyagarbha, which is represented by the sun. The reflected portion of the Ishvara, in our case, it is the mind. In the case of Ishvara, it is like the bright sun. It's the power behind the sun, Suryaha, also called as the totality of all the minds in the universe. That is called as Hiranyagarbha. Then the three prapanchas, like we have the gross body, subtle body, and the causal body, the reflecting material is called as prapancha in the case of the totality. Prapancha means the total matter principle. Gross matter principle is called as sthula prapancha. Then the subtle matter principle, that means all the subtle minds put together, that is called as sukshma prapancha. And ultimately, all the impressions gathered, all the total ignorance of all the individuals put together is called as the causal prapancha, which is called as karana prapancha, which is also called as Maya, which is also called as Ishvara, which is also called as Mula Vidya in the case of Karana Prapancha. Okay, now where does the oneness come? When we look at the Jiva and the totality Paramatma, there is no oneness at all. One is a small fraction of the entire universe with a small, infinite, very finite intelligence, very small intelligence. The power behind the individual is very, very small. The totality of the power is big. So in the reflected consciousness and the three bodies, there is absolutely no equality at all. In fact, they are contradictory. One is small, another is big. One is in small power, the other is big power, omniscient, omnipotent. Whereas Jiva is with very, very limited powers. The only difference, the only common factor which has the oneness between which we can say that there is oneness is the consciousness factor behind the totality, the existence factor behind the totality, and the infinite factor, that means which lies beyond time and space in the totality. That consciousness awareness principle is common. That means in the original consciousness of the Paramatma and the Jivatma, there is unity. There is only oneness. That is why we say Atma is Brahman. Ultimately, when I say that I am the pure consciousness behind this body, that is only half the statement in our spiritual study. We must learn to understand that same consciousness principle in the entire universe. And then say the second part of the statement, Jiva is equal to Brahman. That means Atma and Brahman are the same. Only when we are able to claim this oneness between us and the ultimate reality in this fashion as taught by the scriptures, we will then be able to drop our identity with this body as me. Till then, the subtle mind in us will keep on projecting the ego I. It is the problem in the jiva, the problem in all human beings, where it gets identified, where it suffers, is in the ego I. And how this ego I is created, all that is very, very beautifully explained in Drigdrishya Viveka. Very beautiful portions are there in Drigdrishya Viveka, which teaches us how ego I is born. How does it come? How does this combination between pure consciousness and matter, how does it come? It comes because of this intermediary factor called as the ego I. So we learned to drop this ego I, and the moment this ego I gets dropped, by the vision of Atma, what happens is this oneness is automatic. It happens instantly. And all this is a pure understanding by the intellect. There is nothing else required except proper, clear understanding, which is called in Sanskrit as Samyak Jnanam. Samyak Jnanam means clear knowledge. Nothing else is required. The more we understand the Atma, better we hear again and again about Atma, then what happens to the human mind is it loses the power of identification with the ego I. And then it gets the power to look within, inside each one of us, in the heart itself, we have the Paramatma based. Lord Krishna says in the 20th verse of the chapter 10, Aham Atma Gudakeshaha. That means I am situated as Aham. I factor in this body is there in all of us. I, whatever that I, which you can, when you say I internally in your own mind, that I, that vritti I is a reflection of the Sakshi I. I repeat, the I thought, if you close your eyes and say I am mentally, it is a reflection. I am is a manifestation. It manifests the original consciousness, which can never be seen. I am, aham, can be seen by consciousness. But I am that vritti. That is why I always insist, when you close your eyes, you should say, Aham Brahma Asmi. That means I am that Brahman. When you say that I am that Brahma, what happens is a vritti, a thought rises up in the mind. It reflects the consciousness. And then, because of the study of scriptures, we come to realize that this thought which is getting reflected is nothing but a reflection of that consciousness which never dies. That consciousness which reflects in all my thoughts. From my childhood till date, all my thoughts are being illumined by one factor in this body, which is called as Atma. I cannot see that Atma, but I can know that it exists because the scriptures are teaching me that what illumines the thought is the light of consciousness. There is no other light in this entire universe which can illumine a thought in a subtle body. No light. It is the spiritual light which illumines the vrittis, thoughts. And it is only through thoughts I am able to do all my activities in life. You may not realize this, but that is a fact. Throughout our life, morning till evening, as soon as we get up in the morning till the evening, we go to sleep, we are constantly with thoughts. The mind has got only one job, to produce thoughts. Consciousness has got only one job, to illumine those thoughts. That's all. All human beings in this universe, they come into this universe with some package of thoughts which comes out, which at the time of from birth to death, it is one package of thoughts. That package gets released, then you shift another body, you take another body. Because you have in your account many, many impressions. Those who have studied the Tattvabodha, we know Karana Shariram is nothing else but impressions which are there in the mind. Okay, so what we are trying to understand now is that there is oneness between this Atma and this entire universe. Generally, in some of the Upanishads, it has been said that one can know one's own Atma when one goes to sleep. That means, in some of the Upanishads, it's said that you are with your Atma, your intrinsic nature, in sleep. Only problem in sleep is ignorance. But with this knowledge, once you understand this knowledge, ignorance goes away. What happens is, you know I am that Atma. So this is how the actual realization happens. Ignorance doesn't bother you anymore. It is the ignorance of Atma which made you think as an ego in this body. Once the ignorance of Atma goes away, that Atma is nothing else but the substratum of this entire universe, adhishthanam of the entire universe. Once that knowledge comes to the mind, it's very, very easy to claim I am that Atma and be free. This freedom is what is called as moksha. And all the verses in this text are in first person aham, aham. That means throughout the text, whenever we read all these 20 verses, we should keep in mind we are talking about Atma, we are not talking about the body, the gross body or the mind. Because when you take I as the Atma, then only this whole 20 verses will make sense to you. In Tattvabodha, as I said, Atma Kaha, what is the self? It is, you have to keep this definition of Atma in mind throughout this text when we study the text of 20 verses. Just to remind you, Atma is beyond the three bodies. It is not the three sharirams. It is beyond. It is not the three states, waking, dream, and sleep. It is not the five koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, the five koshas, the five dresses which we wear. According to the type of circumstances, we just change the dress. When we look at the body level, we say, I am the Annamaya kosha. I am 5 feet, I am male, I am female. This all belong to the body. I am sorrowful, I am joyful. That belongs to the mind. I have hunger, I have thirst. That belongs to the prana, pranamaya kosha. I had a very good sleep. That is anandamaya kosha. I am not able to understand this. I can clearly understand this. That is Vijnanamaya kosha, intellect. So this is all identification of that Atma with each of these five dresses. Once I learn to drop the dresses, once I learn to drop the three states, drop the three bodies, what remains as a substratum is called as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means pure existence. Chit means pure consciousness, and Ananda means pure bliss. Without the limitations of that time, without the limitations of the place, or without any limitations that we will see in the verses, without any limitations of the objects. That is the core inner personality, which is the same core in this entire universe. And that is why we say it is oneness. Aikyam. In Sanskrit, oneness is called as Aikyam. And all the Mahavakyas, like Tat Tvam Asi. See, when the Guru tells the student that you, the consciousness, are that consciousness, Tat means that. That consciousness in Paramatma is the same consciousness in you. Tvam. Tvam means you. Tat Tvamasi. That is what is the teaching from the Guru to the student, disciple. Then the student thinks for himself. He learns to drop the waking state, learns to drop the dream state, learns to drop the sleep state. And then he says, Aham Brahma Asmi. I am that same Brahma principle, the changeless consciousness principle. I am that. I am Atma Brahman. It comes in Mandukya Upanishad. It says these are all Mahavakyas. These are all the statements of oneness between the individual and the total. Those statements, the essence of that is in this particular text, which is called as Aham Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Don't worry about the Sanskrit portion. If you don't know Sanskrit, doesn't matter. As long as you understand the fundamental essence in English, you will be able to understand pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. It doesn't matter whether you're Chinese or Japanese or American or any, because ultimately all of us are made up of 5 elements. All of us breathe the same air, the same oxygen. The entire body is made up of the same 5 subtle matter, the mind. We are all common. There is oneness between all of us. And what is the substratum of this oneness is this awareness principle. Even while waking, when we learn to drop the mind, learn to drop the gross body, we will be with ourselves, which is called as Atma. This is what happens, and this is called as Jivan Mukti. I realize myself to be this pure consciousness, and I abide in it throughout my life. I go on duty, doing all my duties till the body is alive. I do my duties. That's all. At any point of time, I'm very, very peaceful, I am happy, I am peaceful, and I do my duty to the best of my ability. That is what is called is jnani. That means a wise person. Okay, let's go now to the actual text. We will hear this chanting by one person. You just listen to the chanting so that you can also chant together with this. And then don't worry if you can't chant, doesn't matter. Understand the meaning, which is more important.
Asangoham, asangoham. Asangoham punah punaha. Satchidananda rupoham. Ahamevaham avyayah.
This verse number 2 is one of the most important verses to understand who I am. It says, Asangoham, Asangoham. I, the Atma, am ever unattached from the three bodies. The teaching starts with detachment. That means I have complete vairagya. With reference to the three bodies, I am detached. That means I can exist myself without the three bodies. That is called as Atma, which is our experience in sleep. I don't have any connection with the gross body. The gross body is breathing by itself. The nature is controlling the gross body through the breath. The breath is what controls the entire physiological functions in the body. Atma is just a witness principle, Sakshi. It is unattached. Similarly, the mind also, mind which was making all types of problems during the waking state has gone to sleep. It has become passive. And this passive mind is being watched by, witnessed by Sakshi, Atma. In the Karana Shariram, there is a thought of avidya. I don't know anything. Avidya means I don't know anything. It is a thought. Karana Shariram also has a thought. This is said in Vichara Sagara, where the teacher says that it is not only the subtle body which has got a thought, which the consciousness sees in the dream state as well as in the waking state. The Karana Shariram also has a thought. And that thought is what? I don't experience anything. It is a thought in the mind. All of us in sleep have the same thought. Like we breathe the same air, in the sleep state, we all have the same thought. Deep sleep state, yeah? And the witness consciousness is just watching this mind, saying, I don't experience anything. Therefore, we can study the three states of consciousness and say, Asangoham, Asangoham, Punah Punaha. I again and again repeat the same thing because that is my eternal existence. Sakshi, my nature is pure, without any limitations of the body, the gross body, the subtle body, or the sleeping body. Satchidananda Rupoham Ahamevaham Abhyayaha. Satchidananda we have seen in Tattvabodha itself. Sat stands for existence. Chit stands for consciousness, knowledge. And Ananda stands for bliss. Why is it blissful? Because there are no thoughts. What causes sorrow in our lives? the thoughts, the vrittis which are in the subtle body, which rise and fall, rise and fall. Anger thought rises, I become unhappy. Jealousy thought rises, I become unhappy. So whatever thoughts rise and I identify with the thoughts, there is worry, anxiety, tension, all that is thoughts. But in sleep, absolutely no thoughts. And I am with my own Swarupam, which was what I was before my birth of the body. The body is just born with the help of 5 gross elements. So before birth, I was Atma. After birth also I am Atma, but I am not aware of it. That Atma is the awareness principle, pure awareness, without anything. And after death of the body dies, it's just a gross body, it will die. It's one layer. It is at a lower level of this entire universe, which is called as the Vyavaharika level. Whereas Atma is at a Paramarthika level. Paramarthika means it is at a higher level. The dream is in between level. That means the dream is Pratibhasikam. There are 3 levels: dream consciousness, waking consciousness, sleep consciousness. All these 3 are 3 different levels. They are not the same level. And then beyond all the 3 is our real state. And what is the real state? It is irreducible. That means it cannot be increased or decreased. Immortal. Immortal means it has no death, it has no birth. And endless. Endless means it never had a beginning, it will never end. Everything in the time and space has got a beginning and end. What doesn't have beginning or end is beyond time. And in sleep, we are beyond time. Atma is the only thing which is beyond time. It remains unaffected by time principle. Matter principle is affected by time. The body matter, the entire world, which is a matter, is affected by time. It comes in time, goes off in time. What is not in time is this Atma. This line, aham evaham avyayaha, this is repeated from verse number 2 to 16. It's a very important portion of the realization. We are all feel that we die, when the body dies. But what the teaching now says is Atma, I the Atma am immortal. Once we know that we are immortal, a lot of problems from our life will go away. Because we are no longer time bound. There's no more tension. With reference to the mind, yes, the mind wants to do certain things. Intellect, the doer principle in us, wants to act. It wants to enjoy. It is an intellect it is a karta and bhokta. These are all time bound. But Atma is not time bound. We want to save money because we feel that we are going to live for 60, 70 years. It is from the body's point of view. But as Atma, nothing. We are ever free. That is why these 3 words, irreducible, immortal, and endless, is repeated by Shankaracharya again and again to drive the point that I am not the mortal body. I am not the mortal body. We learn to say, the more we meditate on this verse, this is a beautiful verse for meditation. In Ashtavakra Gita, this verse comes very often there. King Janaka got liberated because of this one sentence, asangoham, asangoham. Punah Punaha. King Janaka, one of the kings, he was a grahastha, he got liberated. So we as householders, by knowing our real nature as Atma, we can also be free from the troubling body and mind. What really causes sorrow and dejections and tensions is the mind. By knowing this asangoham, the nature of being unconnected with the body or mind, or the impressions in the mind, which is we generally call it as vasanas. Vasanas has got nothing to do with Atma. That is why in Om, we say that the sound Om represents the waking, dream, and sleep states. The silence which happens after you chant Om describes the Turiyam state, the fourth state, which is the Atma state. Silence. All thoughts come in consciousness. All sounds come in silence. Without silence, you can never experience sound. Sound is the substratum of silence. Without consciousness, the substratum, we can never experience the thoughts. Without Atma, there is no life. Because it is a substratum for the whole creation, not only this body. So, verse number 2, very important verse. Keep in mind, asangoham, one word. Asangoham is the nature of Atma. Asangoham means unattached. We'll go to the third verse.
Nitya Shuddha Vimuktoham Nirakarohamachyutaha Bhumananda.
Okay, there's some problem with the recording. Let me chant for you. Bhumananda Swarupoham Ahamevaham Abhyayaha. So what it says in this third verse, I have just marked all the qualities, indicators of Atma as 1 to maybe 30, 32 numbers. So the fourth aspect of Atma, which is said here, is Nitya Shuddhaha. Nitya Shuddho Vimuktoham. Nitya Shuddhaha means ever pure. Ever pure means it doesn't have any impurities of raga, dvesha. Raga means attachment to things and beings. Dvesha means aversion to things and beings. Shuddha means no impurities of the gross body, no impurities of the subtle body. Impurities in the subtle body could be jealousy, kama, desire, krodha, anger. All these are all impurities. So Atma doesn't have any impurities. Shuddha, ever pure. This purity comes again and again in these verses. Just keep in mind. Purity means at 3 levels: physical level, mental level, at the intellectual level, or at the Karana Sharira levels. Karana Sharira levels means no punya papam is there in Atma. No impurities at the subtle level means anger, jealousy, desire, all these 6 impurities of the mind. They are not there in Atma. The next quality is Nitya Muktaha. Nitya Muktaha means ever free from the tyrannies of these 3 sharirams. It's got nothing to do with the 3 sharirams. Therefore, it is ever free. This is the freedom which we need to learn as my nature. Then Nirakaraha. Nirakaraha means without any modifications or changes. It is changeless. Body has modifications. We know birth, growth, then disease, old age. These are all the different modifications at the body level. Modifications at the thought level are also there. Every time there is a different type of thought, good thoughts, bad thoughts, pure thoughts, impure thoughts, all this. There are different thought level changes. Then it is formless. It's formless is because it is changeless, it is formless. That means it is invisible. There's no form to Atma. The only thing, you see, even at the mind level, we are not able to see our own minds. So this Atma lies beyond the mind, and therefore we can say it is irreducible. There is no, you see, anything which doesn't have a form, anything which has a form can be reduced or increased. By adding on more matter, you can increase a form. By reducing the matter principle, we can reduce. But this Nirakaraha means it doesn't have any form, Atma. Bhumaha. Bhumaha in Chandogya Upanishad, it's also called as Bhuma Vidya there. Chapter 7 of Chandogya Upanishad, there Atma is called as Bhuma. Bhuma means what? It is all pervading. It is not limited by space. Atma is in Singapore, Atma is the same. In India or in America or in Thailand, wherever you are, Atma is the same. Wherever I go, my nature of Atma is the same. Atma doesn't change, the thoughts in the body change. The body has changes. When you go from a cold climate to a warm climate, there are some changes in the body. Karana Shariram changes because more Punya Papam are added in every birth. So it keeps on changing, but not Atma. It is homogeneous mass of bliss. This is how Mandukya Upanishad describes Atma as homogeneous mass. That means I can't describe Atma as something specific, because only matter can be described. Anything with form has got descriptions. Atma cannot be described by words. That's why in Taittiriya Upanishad it says that words, speech cannot reach there. Mind cannot reach there. Then, next verse.
Nityoham niravadyoham Nirakarohamachyudaha Paramanandarupoham Ahamevahamavyayah.
The two new points, Nityo we have seen before, Niravadyoham we have seen, Nirakaro we have seen in the previous verse, Achyuta also we have seen. Achyuta means it is untouched, similar to Asangoham. Here Niravadyoyam means again flawless. Body has got flaws, mind has flaws, but this Atma is Niravadyoham, flawless by nature. Achyuta means again untouched. Untouched means it is untouched by anything which we see at the matter level. Pure, that means I alone am. Atma alone am. That is how the Upanishads describe Atma. Alone to the alone, all alone. Swami Chinmayananda's favorite words are alone to the alone, all alone. Because it is all by itself. There is no universe in Atma. It alone is. So that is my real nature. If that is my real nature, it has been the real nature of all my forefathers also. So I don't have to have any grief that so-and-so has died, and so I have sorrow in life because I'm not able to associate enjoy life with that person. But in reality, Atma doesn't have any association at all. At the same time, it is all alone by itself. If we know the nature of Atma, there will be no grief or sorrow in our lives. If we train our minds to know the Atma as my real self, which is unconnected, which is without modifications, which is Achyutaha. So again, the same repetition, irreducible, immortal, endless. This is what Shankaracharya wants to again and again emphasize on us. These indicators are meant for meditation. So when you sit in meditation, you can take one of these characteristics and then let it just in your own mind, you can dwell on them. Nityaha, that means I am the changeless factor, eternal factor. I have not changed in 10 days. I have not changed 5 years ago, and today I am the same. Why I am the same? Because I actually means Atma. I really don't know that. Therefore, I suffer in life. If I know I am that pure consciousness, and then I abide in that pure consciousness as my true nature, throughout the day, you're happy, you're peaceful. That is what this knowledge is supposed to do to the mind. The mind gets something to hook on to, which is a permanent factor. Till the last moment of our life, it is there. Atma is with me. So once the mind finds its home in this Atma, then you will find automatically the sorrows in life may be there, but it doesn't affect me so much in life.
Shuddha Chaitanya Rupoham Atma Ramohamevacha Akhandananda Rupoham Ahamevaham Avyayah.
Shuddha Chaitanya. Shuddha Chaitanya means pure consciousness without sorrow. That is one of the characteristics. Shuddha Chaitanyam. Whenever we say consciousness, it is always pure. Because it never changes, it doesn't have any flaws, it doesn't have any connections with any of the three bodies. That is why it is called as pure. All of us are pure Atma. That is our real nature. As consciousness, we are ever pure. So at no point you can say that I am very disturbed. When the mind comes in, then we identify with the mind and then become disturbed. But our real nature, if we come to know, is Shuddha Chaitanyam. Shuddha means pure Atma. I learn to live in this peaceful state. Then the next quality is Atma Rama. I revel in myself. I revel in myself means I learn to enjoy my nature. There is a difference between loneliness and aloneness. Aloneness is joy. Loneliness is sorrow. Loneliness is identification with a thought in the mind. Aloneness is the joy of not identifying with any thoughts, but claiming my nature. When I claim my nature as consciousness, I revel in myself. This is what Lord Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. You revel in Atma. Akhanda Ananda. Akhanda Ananda means it is unbroken bliss. Normally, we are used to enjoying the Vishaya Ananda. The opposite of Akhanda Ananda, which is Akhanda Ananda, here refers to the happiness of Atma, which is an intrinsic nature, compared to the happiness which we enjoy temporarily in the Vishaya Sukham. That means in objects and beings, the happiness which I enjoy is a temporary happiness. It is a happiness in different grades. Taittiriya Upanishad says there are 3 grades of happiness, which is reflected happiness. Priya, Moda, Pramoda. There are 3 different levels of happiness when it comes to the Vishaya Ananda. That means when the object I desire comes to me, or when the object of desire is there, I know the object is there, that is called as Moda. Priya, that's called as Priya. Then Moda means the object is very near me. I have got the dish which I want to have very near. I've gone to the restaurant, I've got the dish, which is called as Moda. Pramoda means the dish is in my mouth. I am experiencing it. So there are 3 levels at which the thoughts in our mind change. At these 3 levels of thoughts, the reflection of Atma in those thoughts, they have a gradation. The reflected happiness has a gradation, but not the original happiness of Atma. The original happiness of Atma is unbroken. Akhanda Ananda. Akhanda means unbroken. That pure consciousness, this comes in Mandukya Upanishad definition of Atma, na anta prajnam na besh prajnam, that mantra, it comes. There it says that Atma's happiness, that is why once you are able to understand clearly what is this Atma, then it is, you're always reveling in it, because the mind has found its home as that pure bliss. It doesn't want to go anywhere in any other things. This is what is called as Atma Ananda. Unadulterated Akhanda Ananda. Everything else in our life is always mixed with sorrow. Anything in life is temporary. But what we are seeking for is the Atma Ananda, the bliss of Atma, which never fades away, which is always there. And it is this we are searching for in our life. We don't know this. We search this through buying things in life, through possessions, through people. We try to get this. We feel that by having some relations, we will be very happy. We feel by having some objects in the world, we'll be happy. So again and again, it is these things which we feel, but it is a Maya. It is a delusion. But the truth is what? My intrinsic nature itself is Akhanda Ananda. The next verse, for this verse, I have another chanting here.
Pratyakchaitamya rupoham shantoham prakrite paraha shashvatananda rupoham ahamevahamavyayah.
So here, Pratyak Chaitanyam. Pratyak Chaitanya means it is the intelligence, it's an inner light of intelligence. Atma is called as the innermost light because it is deep within us. The subtle body, it is beyond the gross body, beyond the subtle body, beyond the Karana Shariram. It is the innermost light of, and this light is of intelligence. It is not something which is inert. Inertness doesn't have intelligence because it doesn't have mind. But this light, this is called as the spiritual light. It is the intelligence, the knowledge principle, which is what gets reflected in the thoughts. Thoughts are inert by nature. What gets reflection is the spiritual light, which is the awareness principle, which reveals an object in the thought. See, in every thought, there is an object and there is a reflection which reveals it. It is the reflection of Atma, which is the revealing factor. So, it is the knowledge principle. It is a intelligent principle, this Atma. That is why we can say this entire world is in order. Because it is one fantastic intelligent principles which is controlling this entire universe. The inner principle is the controller. Antaryami, another word in Sanskrit, Antaryami means inner controller. Shantaha, Shantoham Prakrite Paraha. Shantaha means peaceful. Why is it peaceful? It's beyond matter principle. Matter is always changing, fluctuating. Therefore, it is fleeting. It is agitations. These are all, Shantaha means ever peaceful. Shanti is one of the names of Atma. In Mandukya definition of Atma, Shantaha, Shanti, is one of the names of Atma. It's the same. Atma is given different names. Sashvataha Anandaha. Sashvata here means ever abiding bliss. It is ancient, always there. Sashvata means it's always there. Whereas the objects of consciousness are changing. The objects in the waking state are totally different than the objects in the dream state. The objects in the sleep state, which is ignorance, is not there in the is different than what we experience in the waking state or dream state. So the three objects are different, but the one which is illumining them is Sashvata. Sashvata means ever changeless. It is never changing. It is ever abiding bliss. Next verse.
Tattvadita paratmaham madhyadita para shivaha mayadita param jyodihi ahameva ahamavyayaha.
Paramaha Tattvata. Paramaha means supreme, Tattvata means truth. The supreme truth of this entire universe, the supreme truth. Why is it called supreme? Because it's absolute. It is not relative truth. The relative truth is the waker principle, which is called as Vishwa, the dreamer, which is called as Taijasa, the sleeper, which is called as Prajna. These are three relative. The one which is identifying with the world of objects in the gross world is the Vishwa. That is why they give separate names so that we can ultimately reach Atma. So Tattva Paramaha, supreme truth. Shivaha means auspicious. Auspicious in nature, which is very different than the matter principle. Inauspicious is matter, whereas the spirit or Atma is auspicious. Auspicious because it's a different category of different realm of existence. Maya titaha. Maya is a very, very difficult principle to understand. The entire chapter 14 of the Gita is on this Maya principle, which is Maya is made up of three gunas, and it is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These three gunas, they are what gives the appearance aspect in the universe. The definition of Maya is that which is not is Maya. That means an appearance. That which is an appearance is called as Maya. Param Jyotihi, it is a supreme light. Param Jyotihi, Jyotisham Jyotihi. We have seen this in Bhagavad Gita also, and it is the light of all lights, because it is through this light the all other lights are known. Light in Vedanta means knowing factor. Consciousness is a knowing principle. And with this, what we will do is we'll end today's talk. It's about 8 o'clock now. So next week, we will continue this from verse number 8 till verse number 21 we have. And after that, if we finish that next week, we will then go to our next text for study. We will study next is Viveka Chudamani. It's a very big text of almost 550 verses. What I plan to do is just give a summary. You will see in the summary again, the questions asked by a student and the answers given are all very similarly connected to the central essence of Atma, which is the essence of all the scriptures which we study. So once we learn how to approach Atma, then any text you do, it becomes very easy. Whether it is Gita, whether it is Upanishads, that is why I'm taking these texts now. I've taken Tattva Bodha, I'm doing Atma Bodha, now I'm taking this text. With this text, once I take it, even on this coming Saturday, we'll be doing a similar exercise of about 22 different indicators of Atma. Now that you have understood this, you will find the Saturday class is very easy. With this, we close for the day, and then I'll take up some question answer for about 10-15 minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll close the class now with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Any questions from anybody? Anything on the notice board? Can you check?
Mr. Shekhar.
Yeah, Jacqueline, tell me.
This 21 verse is directing to the Atma also.
Yes.
It seems like can be super powerful, because the way that that I have exposed to on the rest about, yeah. So what I'm saying that, so there are so many verses. What would the one that we can concentrate on?
Yeah, I will explain to you that verse which comes in the end. The asangoham is the most important, unattached.
Okay.
If you want one verse to just meditate, just say, I am unattached to the three bodies. I am Atma. Verse number 2, one word, asangoham. That is the essence of this whole 21 verses.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate.
Okay.
Jakarji,
Yeah,
Chitra
yeah.
here.
Yeah, Chitra, yeah.
Yeah, we did this Asangoham with some Swamiji
Yes.
some years ago for 1 full hour
Yeah, correct. That is in Ashtavakra Gita.
as a morning 7 a.m. meditation.
Yes.
I don't remember who did it, but it was very beautiful.
Yes.
Just the 2 lines.
Yes, that's correct. Asangoham is very, very powerful because with that one word, we can connect the entire teaching of all the scriptures.
Yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes.
I have one question to permit.
Yeah, yeah.
Pratik Chaitanyam, the meaning we have given is inner light of intelligence.
Yes.
Actually, is it inner light of intelligence or inner light of consciousness? Actually, I'm not.
Consciousness is also called as intelligence or knowledge. Knowledge, you see, ultimately intelligence means knowledge. If I say that you are intelligent, it means you're knowledgeable. And
So
knowledge stands for consciousness.
Okay, so for my understanding, if I inner light of consciousness, then I can feel it better way. So
Yes.
I can take it that way.
Yes, you're right.
Thank you.
The name of the next of this text is Brahma Jnanavalli. Chandra, you wanted to know name of this text is Brahma Jnanavalli. Uma, of course, she's praised this. Then there are a lot of new people who have come in to listen to these verses. These are very beautiful verses for meditation. Sajeev Menon, that's what you're saying. Shama has some question. I will unmute her. You're already unmuted at the moment. Shama, can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. First and foremost, really, thank you so much. It's the most wonderful, talk that I've heard for a very long time, and it's simply awesome, extraordinary. The words are very difficult to actually explain the joy and happiness. You described about the Moda and Pramoda. It is so Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. So
yes.
with this, I am nearly at the Moda state, which you just feel, God, you've tasted something so absolutely wonderful. And what I also wanted to say was, it's the way you've contextualized as to where does it fit in. Because last time when you said you were going to speak, and I was thinking, where does this fit in? But because you fitted in with the whole of the context of the spiritual study, it just seems so wonderful that it's a good interlude between what has been done before and what we are going to do further. This particular Brahma Jnanavalli, it seems so good. There's only one question, if you allow me to ask, and that is, and also I just wanted to say how so far until this time that you've explained the whole thing, I've always found it very difficult to actually accept that shloka, the Mahavakya, as Aham Brahmasmi. It seemed like a bit too much to actually say, come on, you must be joking, to think that Aham Brahmasmi, to even think about it, it seemed like preposterous. But today, just the way you explained, I actually now begin to realize that, and what I wanted to now realize, that whenever I sort of thought about this Aham Brahmasmi, what hit me most was my awareness and knowledge about the whole imperfections that I have. And it's all there, right from childhood up to now. I can actually see all of the gross defects. And I think, goodness me, it's just cannot be possible for me to even dream and think about or accept it that Aham Brahmasmi is a goal that should ever be achieved by ordinary mortal humans like myself. But today I realize where the block was, because I wasn't looking at the components. So once we are going through this Brahma Jnanavalli, it is falling into place as to how it is but it's partly really, it's just the way you've explained it. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure I was so stuck. It was a big block in my mind. But today I'm feeling so happy that it's been lifted. So thank you. I can only thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shama. This comes because of the chart which I gave you, original consciousness, reflected consciousness. That chart is very important.
Yeah.
The chart has come to me from the advanced text which I have done, like Vichara Sagara. So
the only question I forgot to ask, and that was the way he says punah punah in the main shloka. And I just keep thinking, does that mean it needs to be thought about it again and again? Is that the meaning?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Think about it again and again, because that becomes the meditation for the whole day, for the whole life.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thanks for giving me the time.
Okay.
One last clarification, please, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
This entire Brahma Jnanavalli Mala, can I take it as the detailed elaboration of verse 7 of Mandukya Upanishad?
Yes, absolutely. It is exactly the description of Mandukya 7th verse.
Okay, thank you very much.
Exactly the 7th verse. It's exactly the same description in all the Upanishads. This is just a condensation of all the Upanishadic words which describe Ashabdam, Asparsham, then Shotrasa, Shotram, all the Upanishadic mantras which talk about Atma. It is just Shankaracharya makes a garland out of it and presents it. That's all.
Thank you. Right.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Namaskaram.
Okay, thank you very much. If nobody other has any questions, we'll close for the day. And we will meet again on Saturday for those who are coming for the Saturday session. It will be very simple session on Saturday because you already know these terms, because verse 33, 34, 35 and all are all talking about the same type of descriptions of Atma in Atma Bodha. Otherwise, we will continue with this Brahma Jnanavalli next week on Wednesday. We will finish it next week. And then we will enter into Vivek Chodamani if we have time. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Shekhar, could you share the verses? Could you share these verses?
Yeah, I've sent the verses.
Oh,
yeah, I've sent it, but I can send it to you, Sajeev.
Okay.
I'll send it to you by WhatsApp or email, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, WhatsApp.
Could you send it by email, please? That would be very nice. Because
yeah, I will send to everybody by email along with the along with today's video. I will send the notes also. Brahma Jnanavalli, in some text, some verses are not there. In some verses, in some text, some verses are added on. So I have taken all the verses, compiling all the verses of different texts and made it 21 verses. So in some text, the first verse itself is not there. That is why some chanting itself is missing. In some other text, the last verse is not there, the 21st verse. But in my notes, I have captured all the verses, and I will circulate that notes along with the video of today's class.
Shekharji, would you be able to signpost to some notes where one can look at the exact Sanskrit translation? Is there any place available, or I'll search it myself?
I think you can get in the web somewhere
okay,
in the web.
No worries.
Okay.
I'll search it myself. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shekhar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If anybody has other questions, you can call me in my mobile, yeah?
Shekharji, I have a question. Just now, Shama was telling that, I am Brahmasmi.
Yes.
Do you think we really agree to that? Because I heard from the Gita, we are part and partial of the Lord only. We cannot say I am Brahmasmi.
Okay, no problem. If you can't say it, doesn't matter. You have another life. You'll come back to the classes again and you learn again. So basically, Aham Brahmasmi is very simple if you understand the inner meaning of it. You see, if your intellect is able to pick up the actual consciousness principle, because for many of us, we have obstacle in our mind. This, what you are saying, is a very big obstacle in our own mind.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you know, this is an obstacle which we will get rid of it one day. So whenever we get rid of this obstacle, and on that particular day, you will realize that I am that higher principle. It's very, very easy. It's a simple principle because it's talking about me, myself.
And partly it is what I now today realized is that it is so much our mind has been cultured from the time that we learn to stand on our 2 feet. We've been told this is right, this is not right, this is wrong, this is to the level that you actually dwell more on the imperfection rather than the perfection. And while in Atma there is no question of perfection or imperfection, it is perfect. It is just.
It's always perfect. It's always joyful.
Yes.
It's always bliss.
So what I'm now happy to accept is that what is perfection and imperfection, it relates to the mind and the body, definitely not to the Atma.
Not
so
to Atma.
You actually freed. Today you've given me the freedom.
Very
so
good.
I'm so happy that and now I also understand the restlessness, why I've always been restless since a little child, because I achieve this, I do this, and I do that, and I'm still back again to square one, unhappy, because I can't see that, you know, the vision of that perfection, that unlimited self. And so today, really, you've given me the whole of the universe to so I'm
no
so
problem.
happy.
No, I'm sure Bhava will be very happy to see the joy which he can see in you.
Fantastic.
But the problem
I'm so
is in the Gita.
Grateful.
Yes,
Ever
thank
so
you.
grateful.
But
Thank
the
you.
problem, Shekharji, in the Gita, it says we are part and partial only. So what do we take? Part and partial of him, is it?
We are part and parcel of him. Yeah, you see, in different texts at different times, the Lord Krishna tells us different things. So don't take those are all stepping stone. The stepping stone is not the ultimate. The ultimate is we are free. I'm free from the mind, that's all. Your mind is creating all these thoughts of separation.
Yeah, that's why there's a debate on this. I am Brahmasmi. There was a lot of debate in one of the gurus.
Don't ever go for debates. That is a problem. Don't go for debates. Just understand the scriptures. That's all.
That is a problem. Yes.
Yeah, Venkatesh, you have something to say?
No, nothing. I'm just enjoying the talk. I'm just see whenever the Babu Bhai comes out with anything, it's really very joyful and
yeah.
Moda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week he will enter into Pramoda and he will say, yes, I believe in this.
And then we say we don't need Shekharji. Is that what it will happen?
No.
No. I almost feel, yes, everybody, the whole universe arranges it in a manner where we are just.
These are all good verses for the meditation.
Yes.
So for the contemplation, these are all like that. Sangoham is a very, very huge, like the whole hollow and empty meditation, the whole thing is Sangoham.
You see, once you learn the scriptures, meditation becomes so easy.
It becomes very
easy. You just dwell on these 4 or 5 words of the scriptures and then you are into meditation. Okay, Venkatesh.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.